So with this April 18th Planning Commission meeting, I will call the meeting to order. Before we get started, I just wanted to welcome our new members. We have Sherry Walsh, Billy Thomas, Eric Jansky, and Lincoln Poole. And I just want to welcome you all and thank you for participating and for being of service to the city. Let's move this along to, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion.
Moved. One at a time.
I'll take a second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Those in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed? The agenda is approved. Now let's get to approving some minutes. Let's approve the minutes from February 15th, 2024. Could I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve February 15th, 2024 Planning Commission minutes. All in favor, or no, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Those minutes are approved. Let's move on to the March 21st minutes for the Planning Commission. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Thank you, Sherry.
I'll second.
Thank you, Billy. Good job. We have a motion and a second to approve the March 21st, 2024 Planning Commission minutes. Further discussion? Now, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Look at us go. We're going to go down to commercial. Oh, wait a second. No. Somebody's got something else in here. Oh, no, yes, we are. Okay, Commercial Industrial Zoning District, Aaron Smith, Community Development Director.
Thanks. Can I pause you and back you all up and make you do a couple introductions first?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm hoping with several new members. So Jim, Cindy, and Krista have been on the Planning Commission for a long time. As you can see, as they move through those motions, they're pretty good at them. So they will set a great example for you. They've been here for a while. So I'm hoping we can all just go around, introduce ourselves, tell us where you live, if you want to expand on that any further. Sherry, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sherry Walsh, and I live in the Carver Bluffs Woodview Circle.
Anything else about you?
I'm honored to be here. I'm a mom of two older daughters, 27 and 24. And my husband is on the fire department. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Jim?
Jim Wygan. I live up in Carver Bluffs on Carver Creek Place. I am older than the hills. I'm a father of two children. One's son is 54, and the daughter is 51.
And
not planning on any more.
Can you tell us a little bit about your tenure with the city?
Actually, I was on the Planning Commission in 1999, on the council from 99 to 2000, and mayor from 2001 to 2011. Now I'm back on the Planning Commission, so I may start over again.
But not with the kids.
Aaron, excuse me. Could we make sure everyone has their mics on?
Good call.
I did have mine on.
Oh.
Good call.
Go ahead.
It's my turn?
It is.
Okay, hi, I'm Cindy Monroe. I've lived in Carver since 1990. Been active in city business for a number of years. And I live up on East 7th Street, right up by Lions Park. But for 25 years, I lived on 3rd and Ash in a very nice older home. I've been on all the commissions. That's about it.
Krista Godell. I've lived in Carver for 8 years, I think. I also live in Carver Bluffs, Woodview Court. So, right down the road.
Oh, did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay.
I did. have been on the planning commission, I think, for 6 years.
That feels right.
I check the spelling errors and.
She sure does. It's
Yes, she
sometimes
does.
pretty embarrassing.
I'm Billy Thomas. I live in the Spring Creek development with my 3 boys. They're 8, 4, and 2, and my husband. And this is kind of my first community involvement or city involvement. But this will be our forever home, so getting involved is important to me. And outside of this, I do strategy and finance work for Cargill.
Eric Jansky, I live in Spring Creek. Moved here about 2 years ago after I retired out of the Air Force. I did 21 years worldwide, bouncing all over the place as a fighter pilot. Grew up in Laconia and we moved back here to reconnect with family. And so my wife, my son Ben is 12, and just trying to get involved in the community here and help out any way I can.
Lincoln Pool. My wife and I moved here last May with our 2 kids, Oakley and Lola. They're 2 and 4. We live up on the hill on Forner Lane next to the water tower. I think the neighborhood's called Christie Bluffs. Not
It
actually
is.
sure.
Yeah.
We love Carver, love downtown. For work, I'm a corporate event producer. I travel around quite a bit, producing corporate events. And then all of my extra free time, I bartend at Getaway down the road once a month. Just for fun, and that's how we kind of got actually connected to Carver, was through Getaway coming to town.
Great. Reed, you want to add?
Yeah, just thank everyone. I'm Reed Welch. I'm the council liaison from the city council. I previously served on the planning commission for 7 years. So I'm glad to have her. I worked with Jim, Cindy, and Crystal for a while. So again, thank everyone for volunteering. I live in Spring Creek and have a daughter. And yeah, thank you everybody.
You have to go too.
Oh, I'm Natalie Meyer, worked for this city for going on 6 years almost, and have lived in Carver for 12 years, also in the Bluffs. And I have 3 girls, 15, 13, 11. I'm on Carver Creek Circle, so that's kind of good.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's by the park.
okay, Jim, you have pointed out for me.
All right.
All right, is that good enough?
That was great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
I feel like we needed to break it up because this is kind of a heavy topic. So we have to show them that we're kind of fun.
This is the only fun we're having tonight.
Yeah.
Just add.
No, I mean, Crystal will call me on something ridiculous.
Yeah,
That will be
right.
fun. All righty, shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's do it. Alrighty, so tonight we have the first draft of a new zoning district for our city code. So the group has been working through our city code for a while. We've worked through our residential districts. We've talked about conditional use permits, variances, et cetera. So that's work that we have done previously, and now we're starting to get into some of the commercial industrial districts. So in the city's comprehensive plan, we have this commercial industrial district. It's the dark purple on the maps. It's in our comp plan. It's on our future land use map. So the area that we know we're going to annex at some point, not in city limits yet. The tricky part about this district is we have it in our comp plan, but we don't have it in our zoning code. So if one of those properties wanted to come in and say, I'm dark purple, where should I go? We would have to kind of pick and choose since we don't have the commercial/industrial district that we have in our comp plan. So tonight we have the first draft of that district. So some language from our comp plan specifically for this dark purple district is that we're looking for uses that allow for employment areas to develop a mix of typical industrial and commercial users. Large-scale retailers may occupy areas in this designation. Create destinations for residents who acquire goods. So it's job creation, consumer traffic, and economic development. So if Lakeview Industries, which is the property just north of Fleet Farm, came in today, I would say they could have hit this district since they are a mix of office spaces and warehousing, since it's their headquarters. A lot of their admin team is there, so it's that mix of commercial users, office, et cetera, with the industrial on the side too. So we need to create some language for that district because it frankly doesn't exist today. So that's what we're being tasked with tonight as our first draft. Looking at, on the left right now is our zoning map. So you'll see some landmarks that you likely know. I'll talk through some of them specifically. And then on the right is our comprehensive plan. So you can see on the left the zoning map. We have not reached our full potential for land use. We have a lot more land to annex, but There are some commercial areas that we have that I want to talk through what their zoning is and how it would apply to this new zoning district had it been available at the time when the projects came in. So our current commercial districts, we have our central business district, which is downtown. We have an industrial district, which Lakeview went for, so it's a light purple on the map. We have freeway commercial and general commercial. So those are our districts right now as they stand in our city code, fully approved, fully adopted, what we operate with right now. A little bit of a change that we're looking to make is hoping to go to a central business district that specifically is for downtown and covers the historic district. So the historic district has different regulations about what a building can look like and what approvals are needed. So we often reference the historic design guidelines outside of the city code. I'd like to add some language in the city code to say if you're part of the downtown central business district, there are additional stipulations to what your building can look like, signage, what it all looks like, etc. So adding that caveat into our city code, so making the central business district exclusive to just downtown, mirroring the map of the historic district. We have an industrial district that I'd like to blend with freeway commercial. So that's the district we're looking at tonight, is blending those two users. A lot of the language is really similar already. We use freeway commercial in kind of a strange way. I'll show that on the next slide. And then general commercial, I would like to keep the same, but blend it with some of that freeway commercial. So going from 4 to the central business district, commercial, industrial, and general commercial. So going down to those 3. Central business district, again, just downtown. General commercial could be outside of those areas. So talking through that freeway commercial district, we use it really often, frankly. So everything that's commercial in the city of Carver outside of downtown right now is zoned freeway commercial, which is kind of confusing because Carver Square, so we're Carver Dental, Mizzy's, Healing Hands, Strive Nutrition, chiropractic specialists, and yes, it just changed its name, O2B Children, yes. So those are zoned freeway commercial too, but they are not adjacent to a freeway. So there seems to be some hang up in our general commercial district that doesn't work. Why didn't we pull general commercial for that development at the time? So obviously there's something in there that needs to change that could make it more applicable to general commercial users. So not the topic of our discussion tonight, but I wanted to lay those seeds because we'll continue working through these districts together. So I also want to consider some fringe users in the downtown. So again, the central business district will mirror the historic district, but what would it look like if the barn at the end of 6th Street wanted to change users? Would it be appropriate to have that as part of the historic district? No. General commercial, probably yes. So outside of the central business district, still commercial, but maybe leaning towards that general commercial district instead. Right now it's zoned central business district. I was hoping that would get your eyebrows to unfurl. It didn't happen. Alrighty, so I started making slides where for the commercial/industrial district, and I was just copy pasting from my text. So I'm just gonna go to that now and we can start talking through it if that's okay with the group. Please hold. Okay, so, oh no, it's not up. We will pause again.
It's a thing.
Is it up for you?
No.
Okay. My IT extraordinaire will go assess it. Did that all make sense? Feeling good? Feeling fine? Yeah. Is that the fancy way? Right. Wiggled. Oh. Okay, it's just doing that weird thing where I have to go like that. Okay. So the language that was provided in your packet would be this dark purple district. So again, it's the first draft, so we can talk through it really slowly. We can talk through the intent, which is just the purpose. Why is it part of our code? And then thinking through permitted uses. So these are the things that would come in if the property was in city limits and zoned correctly. These are the uses that could go there. So they would come in and apply for a building permit. So think about the area up by Jonathan Carver Parkway in 212. Get in that mindset of commercial industrial. So these likely are not the Carver Creamery that's trying to go up there. It's big, users, Lakeview is a really good example. So thinking through permitted uses, it's things like appliance repair and service, automobile sales, car washes, essential services, which is essentially anything for the city. So if the city needed a water tower, it could go there. Landscape nurseries and sales, light industrial users like a Lakeview, lumber yards, personal service businesses, wholesale showrooms. So I'm going to pause there. Let's talk through them.
I'll start. One of, okay, essential services. What do you mean by that?
It's city.
City, okay. Retail sales, strip mall,
Yeah.
okay. But it has to be bigger.
It doesn't have to be bigger, but I would say it wouldn't be.
I mean, I'm not talking about a strip mall, but another retail space,
It could be. So it leans to that commercial side of it.
okay. Grocery,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah. For animal boarding,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming we're talking small animals?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I had the same question.
Yeah.
And I was curious if there would be any concerns around smell or odor with a facility like that, and how would that be controlled per se?
So our goal with having it be in this area is that it's not super close to residential users. So it's definitely something we could review during the process, so you can't impact the general public's health, welfare, quality of life. So it gets vetted through the process. But I would say in general, those businesses probably have some type of odor control. But
Odor
it is
mitigation?
something, yeah.
Do we have noise
Yeah, that was my next question.
ordinances?
Yes, we do.
We probably don't have smell ordinances.
Yeah, so we follow the MPCA noise ordinances, so it's decibel reads at property lines, but I don't know how you would measure smell.
Odorometer.
You think that's real?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Can I go back to animal boarding? Does the word domestic help there? Domesticated animal boarding, so you don't get,
Yeah,
Domestic
so that
pets.
wouldn't be like large animals.
Right.
It would be basically no farm animals.
right, okay.
Like vet clinic.
Like domestic small animal.
Well,
I mean, not
think
all dogs are
domestic does
small.
mean in the house.
Right,
It
Okay.
doesn't mean like outside
Yeah.
the house animals.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No chicken vets?
You know the rules on that right now.
I have a question about minimal noise. So like when we think about minimal noise, does that mean, like if I think of a Costco, right? When I go to like EP Costco, it's a zoo. Is that considered in that, like, or does it just mean noises from the building can't be astronomical?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So I would say people moving through a space is inherent to some of these users, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't count that as part of it.
Okay, yeah, because that was, okay, that makes sense.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
This could not be public, so like schools.
we have a public institutional district that we would use. It's dark blue.
Dark blue, okay. There's currently a daycare in that district, but it's not listed here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And retail, does that include grocery, restaurant, gas station?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a good call on the daycare.
So dumb question here.
No such thing. Stop
We
that.
don't ever start a sentence that way.
So just baselining things, so as alternates, are we allowed to participate in the
Yeah, totally.
conversation?
Yep,
Okay.
please do.
So it looks like, just to try and establish some guide rails on kind of what we're kind of visioning businesses and moving in. I saw there's a 1 acre lot size limit. So is that 1 acre per business, or could a business theoretically come in and get multiple lots and like say 10 acres worth of lots and then put
Sure.
something big? Is it 1 acre and that's it, or could they do multiple 1 acre lots for whatever their business need is?
Yes.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Eric, let's go through, because we'll get to that part. 'cause
Oh,
a lot of
sure,
us
at the-
make notes
yeah.
as we're going through. Okay, when we get to, there's a, it's on the last page where they talk about principal structure and stuff and zoning, acreage and stuff like that.
Sure.
Can we just wait till we get to that part?
Okay, well, the whole point of that discussion was to try and get to the real meat of the question was, back to earlier discussion about noise and smell. Are we going to exclude any certain industries? Like this is, I'll raise the example, I don't think it'll ever happen here, but let's say a paper mill decides they want to put up a plant at 212 and JCP. Obviously, there's going to be a smell issue with that, a noise, or a corn processing plant or something that effect. So we obviously got an inclusionary list, but do we have any consideration for exclusionary?
So anything that's not listed is not permitted.
Yeah, and I saw that. So, and that's another question for later, but.
So, for projects like the ones you talked about, like those heavy impact users, there's a process called an EAW, which is an environmental assessment worksheet. It's a process run by the Environmental Quality Board. Projects can trigger those for different reasons. So it can be like an EAW was required for Timber Creek because it was over, I think, 300 units. An EAW was required for Lakeview due to building size. So I would say some of those heavy users have to go through a separate environmental process. And at that point, the EAW is, they call it a worksheet, but that's so silly because it's a huge study and it's a huge document. The EAW tells you if an EIS or an environmental impact statement is required. And at that point, the business would need to be able to demonstrate their ability to mitigate these things. So yes, there might be smell, but maybe there's a smellometer that they have to meet.
There is an odorometer.
Okay, I'll trust you on that one.
We need an odor eliminator.
Yeah, so like Lakeview had to go through it to make sure that they're a water user, so they use water in a lot of their machines to cut things, that the water entering our system would not impact our greater system going back into the water tower, et cetera. So yes, those things could happen, but we have some, outside of just city level, we have some other people that do the work to check those things essentially. So does that help?
Yeah, it does, and actually it answers about 4 other questions I had.
Okay, good. Okay, and then if you're thinking about those users together, it's typically the property owner. So someone comes in and they buy a plot of land. So if that person bought 1 acre, they could put a strip mall with 5 users. So it wouldn't be 5 different people owning a small piece of that property. So, but we'll get through that in bulk regulations.
Okay.
Can I just ask one more question? And that
You
is,
may.
in regards to how do we address the traffic with the, different types of things that could come into this
Yes.
space?
So
Traffic study.
it is a traffic study usually. We also, in our comp plan, we have designated streets to be our collector routes, and we build them to that day one. So if you drive in or out of Fleet Farm, when you're driving on Levi Griffin, if you look around, you're like, wow, this is the biggest road I've ever seen to get to one business right now. But we've looked out our entire span to say how many users could enter our system on this street, and we build it for that number. So yes, it comes in an EAW. There's a traffic component of an EAW, but it's also part of our comp plan. And then we do independent traffic studies where our engineering team physically goes out and does traffic counts to see the peaks. Like Carver Elementary gives us some hack twice a day.
Yeah.
And do we think about our road system at that twice a day time or our 24-hour spread? So as we start to get into some of these projects, traffic will be a component. Aaron Schmidt, our assistant city engineer, is typically here, but this was not super applicable to him. But he can absolutely walk us through any traffic impacts to a project before it starts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would it be worthwhile to do a quick explanation what a comp plan is?
We did like a 101 in March with the new, oh, you were there.
Yeah.
I'm old, I couldn't remember that we did.
I'm obviously old because I couldn't remember either. Okay, our comp plan is our guiding document until 2040, requirement by the Met Council, considers all areas that we will develop into as the city of Carver, and sets uses. So we take our crystal ball and try to think about where users will end up. And the comp plan, I would say we plan for worst case scenario. So we plan for every heavy traffic user all the time to be needing our system. So then we don't have to reconstruct new streets that go in for projects that come in a year later.
So is it to say, there's a dumb question.
Stop
I'm not gonna say
it.
that. But is this to say, like we talked about last month, that once the guiding doc or whatever is designed and the like rules are established, that anybody that fits into one of these categories now has a right to like go through the process and right?
Generally,
so, like,
yes.
In theory, in this zone could be 5 bars, right? Like,
Oh,
there's
sure.
not like something that says like we're open to having this many of this type of.
Correct.
Okay, I was just curious.
She meant bars are like drinking establishments. It took me a second to realize, like, 5 bars, what do you mean?
Well, yeah, but isn't there, there's a.
Liquor licensing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's liquor license
Right.
cap on how many bars.
5 dog,
For sure, but
dog boarding facilities.
Yeah. Just 5. Yeah, it doesn't say like, hey, we need to like diversify in this area.
Correct.
It's just this is what's permitted, and it does,
Yep.
as long as you fit it.
Yes. But I will say some property owners, so like the corner at 212 and JCP where Quick Trip Next Step's hometown is, that overall property owner has set deed restrictions. So United Properties owned the entire thing. A daycare came in. After Next Steps, they have a deed restriction on that property that says no additional daycares can be here. So the city can't do that, but often private property owners are able to use the deed restriction to say, we have Quick Trip, I'm not gonna put a holiday right next to it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Another question. Aaron, can you give us some examples of what you envision by light industrial users?
Lakeview
Okay.
is a really good example in Carver specific. So it's a mix of office users and light industrial users that don't have impact to the exterior, usually beyond traffic.
So would like a warehouse or,
Distribution
beverage,
facility.
beverage distributor would be light industrial then?
Yes.
Okay.
So what would be heavy?
A paper mill, animal processing,
Nards.
gross stuff.
Nards.
Oh, Menard. Menards.
I don't think Menards would be.
No.
Really?
No. Like
I was gonna
Fleet Farm
say
is
we could get a
commercial.
Menards
Well, I guess
at
lumberyard's
Costco.
on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say things that feel inherently like they would need that environmental assessment worksheet.
Would any kind of medical facility fall under the offices for administrative services, commercial services?
Yes.
Okay.
Urgent care, dentist, eye
Treatment
doctor.
facilities?
Yep.
Okay.
Good for now? Okay. So those are our permitted users. Accessory users, so will not exceed 30% of the gross floor space of the permitted principal use. So if I have a 100 square foot office building, my accessory structure can only be 30 square feet, very small. Things that we think about a lot with this one is outdoor sales. So outdoor sales are typically not the most glamorous part of retail. So thinking about a smaller area for outdoor sales, so like a nursery, a Fleet Farm, et cetera, with some outdoor sales. Receiving antennas. So if you think about the fire station, there's an antenna on the backside of that property, wouldn't be able to take up more than 30%. Signage, solar, and then there's some pretty specific language about open or outdoor storage. So like a car dealership, cars could be stored outside if it's paved, and then plants, trees, goods for a nursery, and then raw materials would need to be inside of the principal use.
So is the outdoor sales applicable to a dealership?
So
A dealership?
yeah,
How would they only have 30%?
yeah, that is true. I suppose a car dealership would need more than that.
Unless it's one like they build on 494 there in Bloomington. All enclosed.
Very good.
Why do we care how much of the building, like a solar energy roof, would take up? I assume that's what this means, right?
Yes,
Like,
building mounted.
isn't
I
it
don't like that.
good
I want to
that
take
people
that
would
out.
use solar energy? Like, do we want to restrict that? Okay.
I would say that's slightly a personal preference. I would say some people would struggle if it was a community solar energy system, if it took up like an entire acre and it was all panels.
Oh, like the ones that come out of the ground, you mean?
Correct. Yep.
But would it be like, let's say they want to do the whole back side of their roof solar powered or whatever to power
Yeah.
their, does that count here?
I'm going to delete those. So, no. Because you're right.
So they can have the panels on their building,
Correct.
but not more than 30% on the ground next to it.
Correct.
Yeah. I like
Is there any, from an aesthetics purpose, if they do have solar panels on their roof, is there a reason to articulate how they're placed on the roof or a percentage that's visible?
So the how is regulated by the building code. So they would, like the building inspection would review a permit for that to make sure they're anchored correctly. What was the second part of it?
For aesthetics purposes, when you're looking at the building, should it all be visible? Is there a reason to limit how much is visible?
Yeah.
Do we risk though, if we write that in here in like 5 years, then people have to go through this again because the technology has changed so drastically that like, you know what I mean? Like if we write something in about how it looks or how much of it's visible, but then in the future it looks just like a roof.
Right.
I just don't want to create duplicate work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe that's something in the like building materials. We could say building mounted to not. Like I don't think, in my head when solar goes up on a roof, you typically can't see it right now because the technology has gotten so much better. So let me dig around a little bit and try to find an example of like, keep it on your roof, make it work with current technology. Because I think,
So are we saying that like a solar farm could not go up there?
correct.
Right, yeah,
Well, I mean, your building's roof could be 100% covered,
right.
but it couldn't go on the ground.
More than 30%.
Correct. Yeah. Let me do some digging on that one. I'm sure other communities have some language about it.
Yeah, I just think like when we first moved in, the solar roofs that people were trying to sell us are all, like the ones today are already so much more aesthetically pleasing
Right.
than the ones like even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but think along the lines of Fleet Farm, if they wanted to put solar on their entire roof.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
I don't think so,
Lakeview just did it.
but some people would,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the way it looks.
because.
Oh,
Because they can complain about it.
sorry. Okay.
Another question, just for clarity. Are parking lots considered accessory use?
So we have a section in our code that calls for parking lots and the number of stalls. So typically no, because it's like the number of stalls is set in our code. So I wouldn't be able to say if a user needed 100 parking stalls that they couldn't do this because it takes more than 30% of their lot.
Yeah, that's kind of thinking of like some retailer, existing retail, Fleet Farm, the parking lot is
Right.
outsized the actual footprint.
Right.
Super Target or whatever wants to come in. The parking lot's gonna be bigger than the facility.
Right.
So that 30% issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good for now? Okay, and then I need to get back on that screen. A couple of conditional uses. So these are the things that the planning commission would see and the city council would see to have a public hearing with notice to property owners. So I personally, self-storage is kind of tough if it's just garage doors facing a street frontage for me. So allowing for a conditional use permit would allow us to condition things like landscaping, lighting, building materials to make it look less like a series of garages along our big frontage streets. So self-storage, pawn shops and firearm sales, those existed in our code in the commercial districts already. So we'd be able to set restrictions, things like hours, location adjacent to different users, like lighting. So like the neon signs, we could say you can't have neon signs. So it's an additional step that requires planning commission, city council, staff, neighborhood review. So some of those that feel a little bit scary where you'd want to say, let's slow down, let's talk about some of these things that might impact the community.
Do we want to add anything with like cannabis shops or like
Adult,
Yeah.
adult stores?
I'm hoping to
Liquor
do
stores.
like a full industrial district that would allow adult uses in there. Liquor store, we don't currently have any conditional use permits on them. So I would be a little apprehensive to do it in this district since it's not adjacent to residential.
Although, is it all really not gonna be adjacent to residential?
Yeah, that area stays, for a while, it stays pretty
I mean,
commercial.
if you look on 140 there, to the west of 11, is that a bunch of homes there, or just a
Yeah.
bunch of little lots?
You're right, that's true.
So, something to think about.
But you can have a brewery and a distillery in the permitted use, but then it'd be weird if you had a liquor store in the conditional use.
Yeah.
So that's my question. What's the thought process on how we've been? This conditional use, is it, obviously, with the discussion of the self-storage, sounds like a little bit of an aesthetic criteria, which is, that's qualitative. But then the other two with the pawn shop and firearms sales, I'm inferring maybe of a heightened crime consideration. I mean, what are the criteria we're using to ban these businesses in conditional use versus
Yeah.
other business not?
So I will say pawn shop and firearm sales are existing conditional uses in our commercial districts as they stand today. I would say proximity is probably a concern for some people, that they wouldn't want a firearm sale next to a school or a daycare, et cetera.
I would say like cannabis shops would probably fit into that criteria then, just as far as like if people are smoking outside, we would need the smellometer or whatever that's called.
Odorometer.
Yeah.
Don't smoke it anymore.
I will say cannabis is currently kind of a murky subject since the state hasn't provided much guidance on
Yeah,
it.
that's fair.
So we can add it here, but I suspect it's probably going to change in the next year or so.
Yeah, okay.
Just depending on what we need to do at a city level.
Okay.
I'll also say the council has had several discussions about treating a cannabis dispensary similar to a liquor store, where inherently they are similar users. We don't need to get into that conversation.
Yeah.
But that's been some of the council's guidance, is that liquor store, cannabis dispensary, similar.
So are
I
we
think
gonna
the-
start collecting a licensing fee every year from them?
Maybe.
I think the only difference though is that cannabis does have that lingering smell.
Sure.
That a liquor store doesn't
Yeah,
bring.
that's a good point.
You can make it no smoking.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a fair call out.
so,
I'm just thinking like if I live nearby and it's an area a ton of people are smoking outside of, I would not be thrilled.
Right. Okay. Good for now? Okay.
I am.
Design and performance standards, so this is how a building is going to look. So most of the building materials were in our code already. I took some of the clunky language out. The stuff that I didn't understand on first read, I took out because I didn't want people to have to Google it. So it's face brick, decorative concrete, stone or glass, natural wood, wood if it's durable, and then curtain wall panels of steel, fiberglass, aluminum. We also have information in there that unfinished steel is not an option, although Cortine steel is. So if you think about like the Carver signage, that decorative steel is permitted.
Okay, so are we trying to say here you can only do natural color, like brown or white stucco? That's kind of what it seems like. I mean, so like would Lakeview Industries building be okay? They have blue.
Yeah, that's true. So let's get rid of
I don't think
these.
we can be so strict about the
Yeah.
color. I mean, we can be strict about the quality of the building materials.
Professionally colored and patterned to create high quality stucco appearance. Does that work? Get rid of the white or earth tone. You're right. That
Yeah.
Lakeview is beautiful, but it is a bright blue. I mean, that's the water in like Banff, but the Caribbean.
I just don't think that we can
Yeah, you're
be
right.
so nitpicky about color.
Same thing with travertine appearance.
Yeah, the bullet prior has earth tone brick.
Are there other colors of brick?
People can paint
Oh,
it
yeah.
though, right? Like you can get it
Red,
professionally
white.
painted.
Brown.
I think red is an earth tone, what you say? No?
Maybe.
All right.
Can you just take out those
High
three
quality
Clay is,
brick.
yeah, there's red clay.
bullets? I would get rid of those three bullets and just say decorative concrete.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't even know though that I disagree with the idea, like, we don't need somebody coming in and doing like highlight or yellow. I don't really care. But if there's a way to be like, to create a high quality, I don't know what you would use in place of a specific. But I think what you're trying to get at is like, we don't want a pink barn in
Right.
Carver, right?
but why?
I know,
Yeah,
it's like
I
the,
have the same, yeah.
it's
I
like the
don't-
candy
I
barn,
mean, if
the big yellow
somebody
barn.
buys a piece of property,
No, I have the
Put up a
same
business.
opinion, but I
I'm
think
like, go
that's
ahead,
what
paint it
she's
pink.
trying to get at,
Yeah.
right? I think like HOAs do it, right?
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you can only have something
Yeah.
gem toned or whatever.
yeah.
And I don't know if there's a different word to use for that, but
Do you want to get rid of these three bullets?
Well, I just think you could, decorative concrete. Yeah, I don't think you
I
need the
think you could
bullets.
just leave professionally colored and patterned to create a high quality
Appearance?
brick, stucco, or travertine appearance.
Yeah. Thank you, that was good.
You're welcome.
That's your job.
What if I don't want to use travertine?
Stutto.
What travertine like
There you go.
for,
Adjacent. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of these two. Sherry proving her worth.
Technically, if you have one bullet, you have to have a second bullet.
Krista, I'm working on the fly here.
Could you just put in parentheses, IE?
Alrighty,
at the bottom, just put send to Krista for proof.
seriously. Brenda, Natalie, and Krista, you three are gonna have a ball with me.
We'll just start somewhere and pass it through.
Yeah. Anything else on these?
I know
Alrighty,
galvanized.
Because it's ugly.
yeah.
I have galvanized on my house.
Painted?
Nope.
Is it an accent?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean your house was ugly.
My house is very pretty.
How
Sherry
about,
knows where I live now, too.
I think you put that so you don't get a Quonset hut.
yes, or like a pole barn.
Okay.
It could be an accent. We could say, what do you have that's steel in your house?
It's underneath the deck, so the front porch, instead of putting like that trellis stuff, we have galvanized steel.
I'm gonna slow roll tomorrow.
I know where I'm going tomorrow. looking
Yeah.
at the city.
But you're right, it's to avoid getting a pole barn.
Okay.
So, unless you feel strongly about it, I'm gonna leave
I
it.
don't, I was just questioning it. I don't want to get in trouble, but I'm not in this district, so.
All right, building services and utilities. So, this is getting heavy mechanical, like ECs, generators, things inside the building when possible. And then utility lines underground. Pretty common in Carver, not something that's new here.
but on like industrial and commercial properties, if they have a flat roof, isn't it also common for them to like have a lip that hides it but put it on the roof?
Yep, so that's, there's something in here for screening and buffering. for
Oh,
that.
okay.
Like rooftop units are not gonna go inside the building.
Correct.
Yeah,
Go on
yeah.
top of the building.
Yep, but to the extent possible, we would want them to
Yeah,
move what
I
they can
understand,
inside.
okay.
Landscaping, we've talked here pretty frequently about upping our landscaping section. So that's just a reference to a future chapter that we'll work on together for berming and landscaping. Signs, just general language that it needs to be coordinated with the building and a sign plan needs to be provided. We also permit them through the permitting process. Surfacing, calling for finished surfaces, so a parking lot couldn't be gravel. Screening and buffering, Billy, to some of your comments. So a lot of this I wanted to think about Cindy mentioning that some of this district is adjacent to residential users, getting a pretty significant berm and landscape screen between those two users, even if it's not for things like lighting, just an appearance to give it a different look. I can't believe berming isn't a word in Word. Okay. And then obviously screening parking lots as well. So things like headlights wouldn't go directly into someone's living room. Fences, decorative fences can be a little bit higher in these districts. So residential, the max height is 6. Here they can be 8. Loading docks, off-street parking. Here's the rooftop equipment. So Equipment must be screened using architectural elements and materials which are consistent with the design of the building.
About lighting, lighting near other residents, do we have something about light pollution spilling over?
Yeah, and we always get that photometric plan that shows where the
Okay.
light will be.
Regarding fencing, why do we care about a fence height? It seems a little overly restrictive, or over regulating.
Yeah, I would say,
For consistency.
yeah, and aesthetics. I don't think we want a 16-foot fence anywhere.
Why not?
If they have something really good to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Then for sure, I don't want a 16.
Yeah.
I think it probably becomes a maintenance issue too.
Yeah.
Like, just
But it's up to the property owner. You look along freeways, they put up bigger than 8-foot walls for noise abatement.
Yes, for noise abatement.
But if we got an industrial area next to a residential area, noise abatement would be welcomed. So now we're artificially handcuffing ourselves to a low wall.
Whoa.
If you feel strongly, we can absolutely talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
I get what you're saying, but I think that, I don't know, just aesthetically it looks, I don't know, it feels really unwelcoming to be surrounded by, like if you're in that residential area, super tall walls that, I don't know. For me,
Keep in mind that a couple of individuals climbed over the fence by the water tower and stole wiring from the generator that they had there.
How tall was that?
I don't know, how tall is it?
I don't know.
Well, that's another consideration. I mean, for security, if you get some of these places that have some high-value goods, they may want something taller than 8 feet for security. So it just feels like the 8-foot requirement's a little bit artificially handcuffing ourselves and legislating ourselves into a corner.
But it's under screening and buffering. And it's called a decorative fence, so that would be more of a security fence.
Which they could always ask for.
Variance.
And PCD.
and I guess from the same lens, like, I totally get that point, but then from a security standpoint too, if people need to get out and that's the way to go, you also want it to be something they can, you know what I mean? Like if there's, I don't know, a situation where there's a ton of people trying to move out, you want them to have something where, I don't know.
Do we want to compromise at 10? Does 10 feel okay?
I would not kill the number.
I like your point that it does say decorative, and so I think because of that, it's like if it's a decorative fence, the purpose of it is, I mean,
To provide screening.
yeah, it's more so light pollution and that sort of, and dust. It's not so much security. So 8 feet feels reasonable. 10 feet feels reasonable too.
Oh, 9 feet it is.
Do you want me to come back with some examples of what other cities use? Okay.
So do we clarify then different types of fences? If we got a decorative fence, we've identified a need for security fences, now we're gonna have to start categorizing different types of fences.
Again, this is just for buffering and screening though. So a security fence wouldn't be included in this section.
Sure, but later on we'll define other types of fences we use.
Yep, and there's a whole section of our code for fencing.
But that was primarily designed for residential areas and safety, wasn't it?
No, they're, like, the 8-foot fence is in our industrial district right now. Okay, I'll come back with some examples. And the last one, super glamorous, screening of trash and recycling materials. So getting them inside when possible and then screening. Okay. So bulk regulations, this includes things like lot size, setbacks, et cetera, building height. So zoning lot size 1 acre, front yard setback from right of way 50 feet, typically.
So it's a minimum 1 acre.
Correct.
Okay.
Typically, the parking lot falls within that 50 feet and is not included in the setback, so it's the principal structure needs to be 50 feet. Side yard setback 15, structure height 50, And then maximum impervious surface for the lot coverage is 85%. So that includes things, the building, the parking lot, entrances, et cetera. And then the structure of the building can cover 50% of that lot. Sure.
What does a hotel motel fall under?
I'd say commercial user.
But it's not listed on the
Lodging.
long list. And if you really wanted like a tall hotel, you couldn't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's
50
right.
feet. I was trying to think of that too. Like if you have a Costco with offices on top, what is that?
Well,
Yeah.
50 feet's gonna be 2.5 stories.
Yeah, that's what I was, I was,
So, yeah, we don't want it to
hotel would be really the only one that would fall into probably over the 50 feet.
Right.
And there is always the PCD process. So if someone came in and said, we can't meet that, we need a higher building, we'll give you landscape instead. That's always an option too. So I would say that's the one-off probably. So I'd rather have the code cover the 99 other users and go for a PCD for that one user.
Here goes that hotel I was gonna build.
Do it. Still do it, do it
I
in
know.
PCD.
And then we just have some accessory structure things. So max height of 50, setbacks get reduced a little bit to 10, 10, and 20. So there's no front yard setback because you can't have an accessory structure in a front yard.
With those setbacks, are those minimums?
Correct. Okay.
It has to be 10 feet, no more, no less. You interpret it this way, that way.
Questions,
Could
comments,
just do
concerns?
principal structure dash minimums.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Just given my background in the fire service.
Mhm.
When you're looking at interior setbacks and you've got lots that are coming from two different builders, let's say. How does the city account for what I see as a potential of 20 feet in between two industrial structures? To me, it doesn't feel like it's enough. So how does the city address the spacing of structures to fit the fire code
Yeah. So
when you get more than one parcel being built out?
as part of the staff review, the fire department completes a review. So they would get the plans with the existing structure. So if there was a structure that was 10 feet on one side, the next user comes in and we realize we need 15 on that side, we could increase that setback.
For the next one coming
Correct.
in?
Yep.
Okay.
So like, there's a fire lane behind Carver Ridge.
Okay.
So that came through as part of the fire department review, is that the largest truck needed to be able to get
Yeah.
to the rear side of that building, so the building shifted forward a bit.
Okay. All right.
Well, think of it, you got 10 feet on each side and then potentially fenced down the middle of it besides.
Well, that's why I was asking the question, is there something in the language that you have to address to, when you start to get more than one? The first one's gonna get what they want, the second one is gonna have to shift to meet these, so is there something that needs to be addressed in the code? Or in what we're writing here to accommodate that?
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Not really, because no developer can develop their piece of property until the fire department signs off.
Yeah,
I mean, and everybody's not gonna not going to buy just a 1 acre lot. So
I
they,
understand.
yeah, so, the first person builds their building wherever they want on their 5 acres or whatever.
Yeah,
And the next, say, another person buys a 5 acre lot next door. They just have to be able to meet whatever the fire department says
Yeah.
for setback on their building.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know how we could write it like so specifically. It's like a perfect storm of like this building is close and that building is close, but it's vetted out through our staff review.
Okay. How many acres does Hometown Bank on?
Not an acre, but it's part of a PCD.
Okay.
That's my technical answer.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
I was just gonna make one comment. So, going back to my earlier comment about the solar panels and the roof, would that be considered part of rooftop equipment if they place it on the roof?
I'd say no, because you probably don't want to screen solar, because you want it to have direct access.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to.
Yeah.
In the same vein as the solar panels, any considerations for wind? I take, you go on 212, and I think it's the Chaska middle school or high school's got the big windmill that you can see there. Is there any considerations of, someone puts up wants to put up a turbine of any kind?
Yeah, so it would have to come in through a PCD, so it would be something that we would review. I'd also say wind technology is just not as common as solar as we continue to move forward.
We want to future-proof the document as much as we can.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a permitted use since it's not listed. So. Yeah. Yep, there always is.
Anyone else? So next step is what, Aaron?
I'm gonna come back with a little bit more information. We'll tie this one up and we'll keep moving through commercial uses.
Okay.
May I ask one more question?
For sure.
Sorry.
No, stop
As long as
it.
it's not a dumb question.
I don't know if it is. So when you started off your presentation, you were articulating the different business districts that we have, and you called the downtown district the central business district.
Yep.
So do we have any conversation around should the central business district, i.e. downtown, be called the historic business district? And we need to be creating another central business district for the city. So I think about Chaska. They have the downtown, but it appears like the area up by Cub and Home Depot has become their central business district. Do we need to be thinking along that lines here in Carver?
So
And has that been thought about?
central business district is common. It's generally always included on a zoning map. So it's the public, institutional, it's industrial. Those are our typical users with the typical colors. So I think the central business district will always lie downtown, just inherently that it's our downtown. If we replicated that, I would say that would be a different conversation, like if we truly had two downtowns. But my hope is that we can use central business district for this area and then have that general commercial district that would include anything at the top of the hill.
Kind of piggyback on Sherry's question. I mean, so I'll answer this question. The historical district I assume it has some kind of geographic boundary set.
It
on
does.
paper, right?
Yep.
So if we have the current central business district relabeled as historic business district, you got congruency between the two, and you can use the geographic outlines of the historic business district to bound in the historic business district and to match up with the real historic district, if you catch what I mean.
Yes.
The overlays would be exactly the same, and commonality and title would prevent confusion.
I'm going to politely say we're not going to change. Central business district is the most common term for it. Every city has a central business district. It's not that I don't discredit, like I'm not discrediting the
I'm
historic
just
district.
asking
Yeah, for sure.
The general question. So in Chaska, using them as an example, is their downtown, so down on this level of the land, their downtown central business, and then what's on top of the hill by Cub there, is that general commercial?
I would say
Is that how they
something
zoned it?
similar, yeah.
Okay, just curious. I suppose I could go look at their comprehensive plan
okay.
and answer the question.
A little light reading.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
I just
no,
thought
that-
I'd ask.
You are absolutely fine.
All right, is everybody satisfied with our review? If not, do you have anything else you want to add? Anyone?
I would say just on the permitted side, we talk about the essential services, just for clarity, maybe add the word city or municipal essential services.
There will be a definition of essential services in the definitions
Okay.
section.
They'll clarify that point, okay.
And then Aaron, just so I understand the process, so you're gonna go back and make edits to this, and then this comes back again for a review? Is that the
Yes.
process? And we'll just keep reiterating until we are aligned?
Yes, and then once we get through a majority of it, we'll have a public hearing. The city council will review it before, just to make sure they don't come back and say like, what are you doing? City council will
See
review
that to
it.
us all the time.
The city attorney will review it. We'll go through a full process to adopt it with a public hearing, and then codify our city code on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. All right. I think we're going to move on to number 5, communications. And the first item of business is to appoint a vice chair. And so I will ask for nominations for vice chair. Anyone want to nominate somebody to be vice chair? I'll make a nomination of Krista for vice chair.
I'll second.
that.
Yep.
Oh, and I have 2 seconds. All right. Any further discussion? She seems qualified.
She sure does.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None? Motion carries. Krista, welcome to vice chair.
Congratulations.
Stop showing up for meetings.
I'm not going to be here in May, so you know.
I'll be here. Oh, wait, will I?
We can't have a May meeting otherwise.
Okay, let's, does anybody have any communications they'd like to share? I'll start with you, dear Sherry.
Are we gonna do a chair nomination?
It only says appoint vice chair.
Oh, we,
No,
okay, you good?
no, sorry. I just thought we were at, never mind. Item number 6, that's adjournment, but it's asking for, oh, I see chair. I just see vice chair on mine.
Yeah.
Well, we need to do a nomination for a chair as well.
I'll
I thought
nominate.
we already did that.
You just did vice chair.
No, but we did it earlier this year.
In June of 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll make a nomination.
Okay, who would you like to nominate?
You.
I second it.
You guys are hysterical.
Official.
Billy.
The 2 newbies.
I think they
They,
didn't want
they've
it.
caught on pretty fast. All right, we have a motion and a second to make Cindy Monroe chair of the Planning Commission. Further discussion?
You seem qualified.
We've done a few of these. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I guess I'll be chair again.
Thanks, Cindy.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, now, communications, which isn't really on here. Usually it is.
It is the vice chair section. We put it there.
It's because I forgot to put it on the agenda, so Brenda and Natalie tried to help me out.
Oh,
You've
never
seen
mind,
through
I'll go back to this agenda.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any communication, Sherry?
So can you give examples of what type of communication?
Anything you want to share? It's kind of like show and tell.
Like community updates, so if you were volunteering at the pork chop dinner for the Lions, you could say the pork chop dinner is April
But that
29th,
one's
I
mine,
think.
so
Oh, so don't take
Come up
that
with a
one.
new one.
You absolutely do not need to have
I have nothing
communications.
to share.
most people prefer it that way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jim?
I will say that Carver on the Minnesota is putting in another book order for.
Ooh,
River
excellent.
Walker's,
Great.
Is it a hardcovers only still?
No,
No,
it's softcover.
Great.
yeah.
If anyone is interested in the history of Carver, that book is fascinating. We have a copy at City Hall if you ever want to check it out too. Great.
I'm not sure when they'll be in, but
All right, I'll just say that the Lions, Carver Lions are having pork chop dinner next Friday, a week from tomorrow, Friday evening, 4 to 8, right down at Community Hall here.
It's always
They're-
strange
They're
because
super good.
for like the next week, our office just kind of smells like meat.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Krista, what do you got?
I have a question. So public hearings are notices in the paper.
Yes.
What happens with our public hearings for planning commission?
The city council has gone with the Waconia Patriot. So they're going to start sending the Patriot to Quick Trip and Casey's in Carver. What?
As our official
Correct.
city paper?
Yes, it's been designated as our official paper. The Chaska Herald is no longer in business.
Oh, that's
No,
right.
one more week.
No, I thought it was in January.
Okay, one more week. But
All of them.
It's like 6 of them.
Oh, man.
8, actually, I think.
so
Counting out as far as Hutchinson.
Chan, Chaska, and Carver are all going to the Waconia Patriot.
What happens when if the Waconia Patriot doesn't survive?
We talk about that fairly often because publishing in the newspaper is really expensive, and I would say that's not where a lot of people get their information any longer. So I think it would require a state statute revision, but it is something that's talked about fairly often at a city level to say, could we do website, city hall, social media posting instead? Because posting in the paper is pretty expensive.
Would it be more expensive than, I assume it's less expensive than doing mailers out to the different?
So depending on what type of public hearing it is, we have different radiuses that are required. So if a public hearing is noticed, typically property owners within 350 feet get a mailer too. So it's,
Got it.
we post in the newspaper, we send a mailer, we post it at City Hall. So we're required to do all those things.
Got it.
Just out of curiosity, how many of us had subscriptions to the Chaska Herald?
It was free.
No, you could.
You could donate. It was a volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about it, this is an election year.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna get information on, you know, certainly for president we'll know, and
All right, this sounds like a discussion for after.
well, I think.
This is
I don't
planning
think so.
commission. I do. Okay,
That was my only.
thanks. Billy?
Yeah, nothing.
Eric? Lincoln?
Carver has a cleanup day coming up soon. We can
Sure
drop
do.
all
There
that
you
stuff
go.
off.
The 18th.
Followed by a question of, if I had a bunch of grass sod, hypothetically speaking, how would I put that at the end of my driveway? What is an appropriate way for that to be picked up?
Anything.
Yeah.
Pick up anything.
Like, would I just literally take it and dump it?
I would say like a
Well, no,
cardboard
they-
box or a leaf
actually-
bag.
I'll grab a flyer for you if you think.
Wait, how much grass sod do you have?
Well, 40 by 60 garden, so we took all the sod up. And I'm like, I don't even know how to move that to the front. And I don't want to move it there. And they said,
Official notice says it has to be in a container, because the
Yeah.
truck
Yeah, yeah.
that comes by like picks up the container.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
puts it
figure.
on.
What if like the garbage can was empty?
Don't you have anybody who could use that?
No, I mean, no, we thought about it, but it just needs to go somewhere.
Okay.
It's like rolls of sod,
Yeah.
they'll pick
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, they will.
It won't
They
be
don't-
in rolls
they
by
don't
the
just
time I
pick
get
up out
it.
of the cans. They have
Yeah.
guys standing on the back of the truck like the olden days and.
But they don't pick it up off the ground, do they?
Yeah.
Oh,
pick
they
up
do?
pouches and
Oh, I
stuff.
thought it said on the flyer like it has
Hmm.
to be in like a container or something.
I'd say that's probably the polite way to do it.
Yeah.
Or
Be
put
a-
it on,
That'd
maybe
be my
put it on
approach, but
Like a pallet?
a tarp or something.
yeah, yeah, okay.
You know,
We have a pallet we're gonna put out there if you want it.
We have 4 pallets at our house.
Well,
I
If
can-
anyone wants to move them.
I could stack it up. That's good.
If you leave it in a good condition.
Someone will take it.
truly,
Yeah, that's true.
Entertainment.
yeah.
If you-
Even it's not
Get it
great
out the night
condition.
before,
May
be
17th,
surprised what will disappear.
truly, it,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
people
It's
cruise
interesting people
around.
watching.
I took a,
It's the best people watching.
It is.
yeah, I took a children's slide one year.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anything
That's
else,
good.
Lincoln?
The only other thing that comes to mind is Getaway now has a dog-friendly patio, which I'm personally very excited about and may have been very vocal about.
Do they have food?
At the end, they have a little bit. They usually have food trucks that come in. They have like
cool.
small lights and a ton of food. But the end where there's 2 now, like patio tables and rock, they will be getting a fence put in, so you can drink out there, but you can bring your dog. Which
Love that.
Great.
personally, I'm pretty excited about.
Reed, got anything?
Probably for the planning commission, the city council is going over the sign ordinance. I'm not sure were we gonna have to run some of that through here too, right?
Yes, we gotta do some work on the staff side first, though.
So, had 2 meetings, we've made some progress, so, yeah, Aaron and staff are gonna come back and I think, yeah, they'll need to go through both the planning commission and city council. And, yeah, lots of good stuff going on in the public works side, getting the fire department, the big project this year is getting bombs sold to remodel the interior of the fire department to separate the firefighters, turnout gear, they call us, all the stuff they need to wear, separated out, now it's stored with the fire trucks, so they're gonna add on the remodel the interior, so they can put in its own private room.
All right, great. Aaron, anything else?
The May meeting, we're going to see Timber Creek 5.
Okay,
And then we're starting, I think there's going to be some big projects we work on this summer. We're getting, with the Wickenhauser property for sale, I'm getting a lot of interest in that property. So I think we'll see some projects on it this year.
oh, good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Where is that?
Northeast of Lakeview. So Commerce Drive goes into Lakeview. It would go.
You know where they're tearing down a barn and
Yeah,
some
that one.
other
Yeah.
buildings there, tore the house down?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
That's what I got.
All right, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. See how fast you have to be? Usually at adjournment,
That
somebody jumps
adjournment
right on.
motion is the fastest one.
Okay, we have a
Got it.
motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.